let I introduce myself through this cartoon. A witch on a broom with an energy-efficient light bulb in her hand. This cartoon was published about 4 years ago, just after I was appointed as a Minister of Spatial Planning and the Environment. And the article accompanying this cartoon called me ambitious, but at the same time naive. And why? Well, because they didn't expect me to phase out the incandescent light bulb that I wanted to propose to phase out. And why did I want to phase out this traditional incandescent light bulb? Well, the answer is easy. It is a light bulb that produces 90% heat and just 10% light. So it's far from energy efficient. And I knew that industry was willing to switch to a more energy efficient light bulb as well. But they couldn't make it. And why not? Because most people were very attached to this traditional light bulb. And here you see an example of a very common chicken and egg problem. Industry is not inclined to invest in more sustainable products if there is not a clear demand. But by demanding a phase out of the traditional incandescent light bulb, I managed to force actually a technological breakthrough. And once I had managed to convince also my colleagues in the EU Environment Council, backed by industry, you see a technological development which was amazing and in the area of energy efficiency. This is the LED light bulb. Well, after this light bulb experience, I realized that I had acted more as an entrepreneur than as a politician. An entrepreneur is taking risks in order to achieve a particular goal. And a politician is inclined to carefully assess whether he or she can gain public and political support. Well, for me it was quite normal to act as an entrepreneur. My parents were both entrepreneurs. They owned a shop for men's clothes, and I myself was also actively involved as an entrepreneur in all kinds of environmental activities, stressing the improvement of environmental legislation and a greening of industry. My interest for the environmental issues was raised when I was 18. That was the time of the awakening of environmental awareness. And at that time, I attended the first Earth Day in the United States in 1970. And from then on, I knew that I would devote my life to help solve environmental problems. A second point I learned on the basis of the light bulb experience was that I had underestimated the negative public response expressed by media. Of course, I knew that the media always tend to stress more the critical voices, and that we also have to keep in mind that a lot of people might agree. But still, I expected that more people would have embraced my initiative. So I thought, how come? What is really the matter here? And what I did is to find out why this was the case. And I knew that opinion polls showed that people are actually quite aware of environmental problems and concerned. So they surely are involved. But the opinion polls also show that people tend to say, well, we expect government and industry to solve the problems, and then we will follow. Well, what happened in practice? Indeed, government and industry took the lead. Government has put in place environmental legislation since the 1970s, and industry had soon followed to green their production processes and products. Of course, we are not there yet. There's still a lot to be done, but my experience is that industry has understood the call for sustainability. When we listen to the people in industry, it is quite clear that they understand that when the population, world population, will grow, as well as the economy, that we will consume more and more energy and raw materials. And that implies more scarcity and therefore higher prices. So therefore, the people in industry are quite aware. I also expected that the people were more and more involved in the issue as well, but that was not always the case. The result of all the activities that are going on in industry and also outside industry implied that actually a large community of professionals, environmental professionals, was established. And this community becomes stronger and stronger. But this professionalization of the environmental issues has also its downside. Why is this the case? Well, because we actually didn't actively involve the people. And that is what I realized when I acted as a minister to help solve the environmental problems. And I thought it is, of course, tremendous that more and more companies get involved and that more and more people in business are really becoming the professionals and even become the environmental activists. But at the same time, I realized if we don't get the support of the public, then we will not make the transition to a sustainable society. And what did I do to do that? Well, not just developing public support by just telling the people what they should do. That doesn't work. No, we have to involve the people and give them power. And that's also what I did when I was a minister and what I still do in my present work. I promoted all kinds of grassroots local activities in order to involve and engage the people. I have many examples of that, but one is quite convincing in my view. That is the campaign to involve people in streets. It is a climate streets campaign. And the idea is that Dutch streets in the Netherlands compete for who is the champion of reducing energy in the homes of their street. Well, this is an example of a neighborhood in Leusden, in the province of Utrecht. And in this case, they celebrated it, that they became the champion. And what is interesting in my view is that so many people were involved, young and old people. And that during that festivity, the people didn't only show what they could do to improve the energy efficiency of their homes, but Also information was provided about cleaner cars and all kinds of other sustainable products. This is a very good example of grassroots local initiatives. Another example is that we see in recent years that a growing number of local renewable companies and cooperatives pop up. And why are people involved in these kind of activities? Well, because most of them are fed up with being dependent on mainstream energy companies who have to provide renewable energy with insufficient and ineffective subsidies. It doesn't work, these people say. We do it ourselves. And what you see that these new local cooperatives and companies are based on a completely different business model, and that they engage the users much more than the mainstream energy companies. And I predict that these companies will be the catalyst of the renewable energy movement of the future. In sum, we have to rely upon the power of the people more than we ever did, because only when we really establish a strong grassroots sustainable movement we can make the change to a sustainable society. And I'm sure that this cartoon would then not have been made. Thank you.